Okay, so I think I'm live right now. I'm sorry I was listening to this music, which is really fantastic. I'm gonna close this thing now. So I'm live, and in this video, we are just going to learn about Dart documentation first of all. Now, in my previous videos, I have really worked through Flutter, and we are still learning Flutter. But I thought that why not touch a little bit of Dart as we keep on moving forward. So that is the reason why I thought I should start with Dart in this video. And just one minute, let me open up my Visual Studio Code, which is my editor for writing Dart language. Now, if you do not have Dart installed, please install Dart by watching some YouTube videos on how to install Dart um, on your machine. And this, as you can see over here, this is just a Flutter app made using Visual Studio Code. Now we can make a Flutter application using Visual Studio Code as well, but I prefer using Android Studio because it has a certain more features to work on with Flutter. But Visual Studio Code is very fantastic if you have low RAM machine, whereas if you have higher RAM, like 16 GB of RAM on your machine, you can work with Android Studio along with Android emulator and also using Chrome browser and many other applications. But if you are running low on RAM and you want to use Flutter, then you go with Visual Studio Code because it is fantastic. It is a complete replacement of Android Studio. So it's good. It has almost everything that Android Studio has, except certain features, but it really works out very well. So in this Visual Studio Code, we're just gonna maximize this thing, and I'm gonna just move this terminal. So we're gonna go directly to my folder, which contains, I believe, where is Dart. Dart. So I'm gonna open this folder, which actually contains several different Dart programs that I have written in previous when I was practicing, So this video is not about a tutorial series. It's just me trying to learn Dart and trying to enhance my skills in Dart. So uh, I'm gonna just create a new file over here. And new file. So let me just say, so today we're going to learn about mixins, mixins.dart, and hit enter. So the first of all, mixin, according to Dart documentation, if I go to Dart documentation and close out of my this live stream and put language samples probably. And mixins. So mixins are a way of reusing code in multiple class hierarchies. The following class can act as a mixin. So if I go to read more about mixins, we can see a mixin is actually with the keyword mixin in front of it. So we're going to just, first of all, we're going to say we have a class. Say we have a class, say house, okay? And I want to have a mixin, say house features, okay? Now, so mixins are actually kind of classes, but we cannot instantiate objects in them. That is how mixins work, but we can only use mixins in other classes using the with keyword. So if I give with house features, then this class can extend this mixin. Now this mixin does not have any constructor in it. It can contain variables, however. If I say has window and bull has door, and it might contain string type of brick, okay, and void can withstand storm, and you can say if has window equals true and has door equals true and type of brick equals hard brick, then we can say the house will not fall during a storm. Okay. However, we can say, sorry, we give an else if, sorry, not else if, just else. Else, what kind of house is this that can't even, just give the house will fall during a storm. Okay, let me give another function. Is what is painted. So we can give bull is painted as well also. Now yeah, and we can also give us another string variable type of paint. Will paint wash off? If is painted equals true and type of paint equals Nerolac, then we can say that paint will not wash off. However, oops, I made paint print. However, else if any one of them are false, just print paint will wash off. Okay. Now all these variables and functions are directly entered into this class without having to instantiate any object of it. You can also add functions in this class and other things, but wait, I'm going to do this. So let me just get back and create a main function, which is the starting point of every Dart program, and let's gonna give, suppose, a variable, an object. So I'm gonna give a house, house object equals to, calling the constructor of the house class. Fantastic. Now we're gonna use something about called cascade operators. So I'm gonna give house object dot, house dot, and now we can say has window equals to true, and dot also has door equals to true, dot is painted equals to true, dot type of brick equals to hard brick, type of paint equals to Nerolac. Now if I give a semicolon, then we can easily see that we have almost assigned all the values required for the program to work. Now we can do what? Now we can just directly call it. Also, we can just remove the semicolon and again say dot can withstand storm, dot will paint wash off. Now, if I run this program, you might be able to simply just open up this terminal. Problems unnecessary cast at 8 9 8 9 unnecessary cast. Oh, this is some other program. Forget about it. Okay. Why is it showing me this program? I don't want to see this thing. It goes over here. Example. So these are two different files, boolean.dart and example.dart, not in this program. So we're gonna skip this thing right now. We're not gonna worry about the programs that I have made in the past. So let's go back and just skip. Just go to debug console and click run. As you can see, it says a house will not fall during a storm, the paint will not wash off. So if I, however, make this thing as false, and now if I save it, and now if I run it, you can see the house will fall during a storm and the paint will not wash off. If I, however, make this paint to say, suppose, Asian paints, I'm not trying to judge any paint right now. I'm just writing a program. So please, companies don't come and sue me. I'm just demonstrating a program, okay? So if I click on run, it's gonna say the paint will wash off and the house will fall during a storm. It's also possible if I give some other paint names, some gibberish name, same thing will happen, paint will wash off. So this is the idea of mixin. Now there's one more thing about mixins that we can use, like we have a keyword called on. Now what this on keyword actually does is the mixin house feature extends from other classes. For example, if I create a class house variables, if I say something like this, and now if I just copy all of them, Control X, as you can see directly that I am getting certain kind of errors in the mixin class that it cannot find these variables, right? Now if I, however, write like on house variables, now you will see that all these red lines are gone, but we will see a red line in this case. Let's see this thing. So if I go this thing, save it, we can easily see that the red line is over here. It says that we cannot use house class with the mixin house features because we have to extend. So whenever a mixin extends another class, and we want to use that mixin which is extending some other class, we first have to extend the class which the mixin is extending. So if I have to sum it up, then think like this: the house is just a blank class house, and the mixin house features is extending the house variables class. Now I want to use this house class to extend this mixin house features. To do that, I have to first extend the class which mixin is extending, and then I have to extend the mixin. So first of all, I have to see that which class is the mixin extending. The class which the mixin is extending is house variables. So we gotta first extend house variables, and then we can easily use the mixin. Pretty neat, eh? It's pretty good. Now, can I use multiple mixins in a mixin? For example, if I have another mixin, say mixin random mixin, okay? Let's keep a blank mixin over here. Now I want to use random mixin as well, but as you can see, I can use multiple mixins in a single mixin, but since I am extending this house features, I have to first extend random mixin as well. So to first say random mixin, comma. So I have to extend the random mixin also because as I mentioned earlier, that whatever the mixin house feature is extending, I have to extend those classes and mixins also if I want to use this mixin. So now what happens, I have just remodified the program, not written any other extra code, just I have kept the variables in a class, and a mixin contains just the functions. And now if I run the program, it's gonna work just like the same. Change it back to true. Now the house will not fall, but the paint will wash off. Run if. The house will not fall, the paint will wash off. So that's the complete idea of using mixins. Pretty neat. Let's go back and try to see what kind of other things we have in Dart. Uh, Importing libraries from external packages, importing files. Inheritance, interfaces and abstract classes. Okay, let's try to look what interfaces are. Let me create a new thing called I already have an interface class. So let me make another interface class. Interfaces.dart. I already have it. So interfaces.2.dart. Now, if I look back to my previous program, I can see that the interfaces.dart is actually a class person which contains a function called greet, a constructor, and a final variable. Now, when an imposter is implementing person, then it needs to get the first of all the variable and also extending this greet function. So if I do one thing, if I get back to my interfaces.dart, let's create an interface which I want to extend in my some other class. So an interface is just something maybe a skeleton. It's maybe a thing that multiple classes may use. It's like a model or something that the classes need to use. For example, if I have to say something like maybe a CPU, no, not a CPU, maybe a bookshelf, a very simple bookshelf. So let me create class bookshelf. Okay, now we're going to create the height and width of the bookshelf. We are also going to give the number of stacks, number of rows in a bookshelf, and we can also give a function, say string, not a string function, some function which is going to check whether the bookshelf can stand for at least 1 hour. So like bool, can it stand with all the books or maybe not. Just for the primary purpose, let's just give this kind of variables right now, and let's create another class. Let's just give it as bookshelf beautify implements bookshelf. And as soon as I do that, as you can see, there's a red line over here saying missing concrete implementation of getter bookshelf with height, setter bookshelf height, getter bookshelf height, and other things, two more. So what happens is that whenever we are implementing a class, the Dart doesn't really create getters and setter methods for them. However, if I do extends over here, and as you can see, this red line goes away. So actually what happens is that behind the scenes, if we are using just an extend keyword, then the class is going to be creating getters and setters directly for all of the variables. But if we're using implements, then the Bookshelf Beautify doesn't have any getter setter for all these variables. So to do that, we have to first of all um, um, create certain getters and setters method. So you're going to say int get height maybe to some more int get width, int get number of void set height just a blank one. So this dot height equals to height. Wait, if I give blank, no, I cannot do blank problem. Okay. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's remove this thing. Control X. As you can see, the red squiggly line does go away. However, if I give something like this, then if I remove this thing and I say number of rows, will it work? It doesn't really work. It's a reference. So, or however, if I remove all this kind of stuff from here, let's try to look in online, like dot interface getter and setters. So Dart doesn't inherit implementation from implement shape, but only states that a rectangle conforms to interface shape. You need to add string color rectangle to satisfy implement shape. You can do this by adding a field alternatively, and the getter and setter both are equivalent from the class interface perspective. So he can just do like a new, just the same variable, or he can create a new variable and just gonna say that this color variable. So whatever the color variable is, it's gonna be the new variable. So I understand. So actually, even if I remove all these stuffs, so actually what's gonna do, I'm gonna say int new height. So it's gonna be int height, int width, probably int width. Okay, int rows. If I do this thing, then these are all new variables. They are not the previous variable. However, if I remove all these squiggly lines from here, then you can see that now this red line has gone. So actually this is not implementing in this class. Now, if I just write like this, then I'm actually trying to create a new kind of variable for my class, but I do not want that. I want whatever values I give to the variable in this class, I want them to be copied into this interface class also. To do that, what I have to do, I have to first of all make it as some new variables, probably. Yeah, let's give it as something like, let's give it, and number of rows. Okay. Now I'm gonna give getters and setters method. In the getters method, I'm gonna take the values of the getters. So I'm gonna say the height of the bookshelf class will be the height that I'm gonna pass in this class. I'm gonna say the height. I can do one thing. Can I give no? I'm gonna say the width of this class is going to be the width of bookshelf beauty class, and get number of rows equals to number of rows. Now I can see that I also can see the rich because I need to set the value because they're not set to certain values. So to do that, I can either give setter values, setter methods over here, or I can just specify it like certain values that it contains. Probably say width is also 6. Let's give it as 8. 4. Okay. But still, I need to give certain setters methods in this. So I cannot really run away from that. Even if it doesn't really contain, even if it does contain the values specified to these variables, I have to give setter methods, setter values for this. So to do that, accordingly, so what is set color? And into the Stack Overflow, they're saying, so basically we are passing a value, and whatever value that we are passing, so the color, whatever the color we are passing, it's going into color. If it's a set set height, let me give a value, Stack Overflow, and over here height is going to take the value. Now actually, whenever we are trying to set in the getter methods actually get the values of height, width, and number of rows and try to set those values to the bookshelf class. Okay. Whereas the setter methods actually try to set the height, width, and number of rows for this class with the values of the height, width, and number of rows of the interface class. Yeah. So we can also make it like this. It's going to still work, but it doesn't make any sense. It's just value. So I'm going to say width just say value to pass in that case. Yeah. So number of rows value. Can I change it to something, say, ICEST? Yeah, I can do that, no problem at all. Also say height. So you can take the height of this class and try to pass it over there. So then the idea of using this parameter doesn't make any sense. So we can give any name to this height with a number of rows. It can still work out. So we're going to say width, and we're going to say wait a minute. Strangely, missing complementation of getter bookshelf with number of rows. Oh, number of row, not number of rows. Number of rows, sorry, number of rows. So if I give number of rows over here, so actually what I'm going to try to do is that the name should be same according to whatever name we have given over here. I'm still learning and I'm trying to find out. It's beautiful. However, I can really give the values to it. However, I cannot really call setter methods. Stand. Do that. So I'm gonna give say 6, and what it will do, it will pass out the value to 6. Okay, j dot width equals to say 9. Okay, j dot number of row equals to say 10. Now I want to check what happens if I try to print all these things. Yeah. So if I say obj dot underscore height plus obj dot number of rows plus obj dot width. Well, not really as a addition property. I'm going to give a dollar sign as well. Dollar sign, dollar sign. To make it much more versatile, I have to give strictly second bracket so that the dot can understand what we're trying to do. Okay, now I want to see what happens if I save it. If we run it, get 6 plus 10 plus 9. So the idea behind this is that whenever we're passing 6, 9, and 10, these are going into the value property of the set height value. And then these values are going into being setting the height, width, and number of rows of this class variables. Now we can get the height, width, and number of row. Actually, so to get the height, width, and number of rows, wait a minute. So we are trying to pass in values of the height, width, and number of row of this class and the being set into this. Now, if I want to check what is the height, however, fantastic. So actually, we are not dealing, we are not, so basically the idea of interfaces is that if, so basically the idea of interfaces is that even if we have certain variables in the class, we're not going to worry about it. We're going to just check the variables of, we just know the variables of this class, and using just the knowledge of these variables, we can use the setters and getter methods to add in height, width, and number of rows for every single class that this class actually implements. So if I change the height of it, and I'm trying to think that I'm changing the height of this class, but actually it is changing the height variable of this class, not the height variable of this class. But we only know that the height variable is belonging to this class, but it's not the case. So it's kind of complicated. Number of rows, number of rows. Fantastic. Okay. So I print out the same thing. So that's amazing. Anyways, I'm gonna stop the recording over here because I have some important work to do. I will come back very shortly, maybe in half an hour again. So thank you very much guys for watching, and I'll